Hey y'all, I'm Colin and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is a little heavier than usual, although talking about health has kind of been my bag lately for some reason. Most of you are probably already aware of the situation with Amberlynn Reid, but if you're not, she recently posted a video titled Major Health Scare: Why I Have Been Seeing Doctors Lately. Long story short, she went to the bathroom, noticed some blood, and since she's had a hysterectomy and doesn't get periods anymore, obviously that's cause for concern. So she went to the doctor, and actually at the time of filming, she didn't know what she had yet, and she was going to get a CT scan that very same day. As of the time of my filming, she hasn't posted an update yet. Let me say first of all that I am not a medical professional, and everything I'm going to say is my personal opinion. And second of all, I may make jokes about Amberlynn and get frustrated by her, but genuinely, all I want is for her to be healthy and happy. I really hope she's okay, and I hope the issue is something minor and easily resolved. I'm not here to speculate on what's wrong with her either, because I don't know. We collectively will not know unless she decides to tell us. But she did say a lot of other interesting things in that video that I do want to address. She started off the video by giving kind of the backstory of why she'd had the hysterectomy. In June 2020, she found out she had uterine cancer. That is tragic, and I'm really sorry that happened to her. I wasn't even aware of her channel or this sphere of the internet in 2020, so I had learned about this through other people's videos about her while I was playing catch up over the past year or so. But Amberlynn rarely deletes videos, so you can go and see her talk about her diagnosis if you like. The video is titled I Don't Know What to Say, and there are subsequent videos about her treatment. It's very hard to watch, I will say. It's very sad. But if you go to the comments, you will find loads and loads of support and encouragement. People were saying, okay, this is a very survivable cancer, and we hope you'll get through it. But also, let this be a wake-up call for you. And not even just a wake-up call about her weight. She said she bled for 2 years, but she refused to see a gynecologist until it got truly dire.
It was the fact that I bled for over 2 years. I never went to a gyno because I did go to the ER a couple times. I did see an actual doctor a couple times. And every single time I'd go, they would say, yeah, this isn't normal, but people your size have really weird and irregular periods. And I was diagnosed with a UTI multiple times. So all of that fed into my delusion, and it made it to where the fear of going to a gynecologist was a lot stronger than me actually going. Long story short, I did have uterine cancer.
For the longest time, she didn't have health insurance, so she would treat the ER as her doctor, which is not what it's there for. So regardless of her weight, she just wasn't taking care of herself in general. So after Amberlynn got the cancer diagnosis and got the hysterectomy, she did appear to take her situation a little more seriously.
I feel like the cancer honestly really did make me feel like crap. And it's really, really hard to explain. And now that it's taken out of me, I feel different. And it's almost like there was an Amberlynn before the diagnosis, there was an Amberlynn after the diagnosis, and there's an Amberlynn after the hysterectomy.
She lost some weight and seemed to try to get healthier for a short time, but it wasn't long until she was back to eating on camera and disregarding her health and complaining about the backlash she got from the audience.
But yet, Amberlynn just hauls. Amberlynn just buys stuff. Amberlynn just orders food. My money, my health. Why do you care?
It was back to the same old Amberlynn. The cancer diagnosis had basically changed nothing. So in this most recent video, Amberlynn admits that when she moved from Kentucky to Oklahoma 7 months ago, she didn't find a primary care physician. And so now that she needed immediate attention, she was scrambling to find someone who could see her quickly. Thankfully, she was able to find someone, but this is what I'm talking about. She is a grown adult woman with a decent, disposable income. She has the means and opportunity to take care of her health. She just doesn't. And the most frustrating thing about all of this is she spends all this time ignoring her health till things spiral into an emergency, and then she wants to place the blame on medical professionals trying to help her. I see a lot of discourse about fat phobia in the medical industry, and while I don't personally have any experience with that, I don't doubt that there are doctors who dismiss people's symptoms just because they're overweight or women or people of color, what have you. Because doctors are still human beings with biases like everyone else. That being said, I don't always trust patients to be reliable narrators. You wouldn't believe the amount of times I've seen people on the internet say they've starved themselves on 600 calories a day and they still can't lose weight. And when their doctors express doubt about that, they're called fat phobic.
I mean, it is what it is. You're basically telling me I just have to eat less. Is that your...
Not just eat less, because that's not easy, or else everybody would be doing it, and there wouldn't be a whole field of weight loss medication.
It's really difficult because I have been eating less and less and less, and it's not helping. So this is just really...
Well, maybe you are doing it some days, but not like every day of the week, and it has to be like every day that you have to be in the calorie deficit to consistently lose.
I mean, I just feel like I could come in and I could tell you I'm not eating at all, and it would still be the same answer. You must be eating.
Well,
you must be eating above the calorie deficit.
That would be a lie if you told me you weren't eating at all.
I'm not saying that there are never times where doctors are genuinely fat phobic, but what I'm saying is there are times where doctors are perceived as being fat phobic when that might not be the case. Amberlynn herself goes back and forth about whether she believes her medical conditions are caused by her weight or not. She says she doesn't believe in health at every size, but on the other hand, her argument always seems to be, well, skinny people can get this condition too. She made that same argument when she fell and tore ligaments in her ankle.
Foot was just like dangling.
She was like, skinny people fall all the time. True, but when skinny people fall, they don't also have 500 pounds crushing them when they hit the ground. I'm not being funny, that's just physics. The extra weight is already bad on your joints, and falling at that weight just worsens the impact. Not to mention, she then couldn't get a boot or a mobility aid that worked for her because of her size. It's strange to me because somehow after this rant about how not every medical condition is due to her weight, she then blames her uterine cancer on her weight.
There are things that your body does that you are not in control over. And I know a lot of people are like, this happened to you because of your weight. This is your weight's fault. This is your weight's fault. Not everything is because of my size and because of my weight. So it's hard to come on here and feel like a normal human because I get so much like, this is your fault. This is your fault. Sometimes it's just literally not my fault. I have fully taken the responsibility of me getting uterine cancer to begin with. Like, that is completely my fault. I have had health professionals tell me, no, it isn't your fault. But it's like when you look at it and you figure out, you know, why did I get this? It is my fault. And I would have never gotten it if it wasn't for my size. And that's something that I hold on to all the time. The guilt that I feel about that is powerful. But I can't blame everything on my size because not everything is my size's fault. Looking at bigger people and dismissing them constantly for whatever reason, it's because of their weight, it isn't fair. And it is in a way dehumanizing. But I'm not ignorant. I'm not unaware of the fact that like being larger does cause a lot of health problems. It truly does. That is why I've never been health at every size. I don't believe that you can be this size and be healthy, but I do believe that bigger people such as myself, we do experience illnesses or sicknesses that isn't directly caused by our weight.
This is gonna sound wild to say about Amberlynn, but I honestly think she's being too hard on herself about this. I definitely think the cancer should have been a wake-up call. I think nearly everyone in her audience thought that it would be. What besides cancer could, for lack of a better word, scare her into getting healthier? But also, I don't think it's necessary for her to blame herself for getting cancer. It's certainly not helpful, because to some degree she's right. Anyone can get cancer. Anyone can fall. Anyone can get a myriad of medical conditions, regardless of their weight. The problem is really that being overweight or obese just increases the likelihood that those things are going to happen. When I went to the doctor a couple years ago for my annual checkup, my lab showed I had subclinical hypothyroidism, which just means my thyroid levels were a little wonky, but it hadn't progressed into actual hypothyroidism yet. Kind of like pre-hypothyroidism. And I have a family history of that, so it really freaked me out. And also my liver was a little out of whack too, subclinically. And I don't drink, so the cause of that was pretty obvious. Ironically, this appointment was like a week after I started counting calories. So while I was at my highest weight at that time, I had already started taking the steps to get healthier. By my next appointment last year, all my levels were back to normal. There's a saying I like that genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. There's no guarantee I won't have thyroid problems in the future, but now I can look at my lifestyle and say, I've done everything I can to prevent this. In Amberlynn's case, she may have had a genetic predisposition to uterine cancer. She may have gotten it regardless of her weight, but I'm sure the weight didn't help. What also didn't help was that she was ignoring her symptoms for so long that they couldn't have caught it earlier. Another confounding factor is that if you're obese, it can make getting a diagnosis more difficult. There are a lot of comorbid conditions with obesity that can complicate your diagnosis. Like she said, a lot of the medical professionals at the ER would tell her that while her irregular periods were abnormal, they were relatively common for people at her size. And that's true. Fat is an organ. It secretes hormones that can really mess with your reproductive system. Should they have screened her for other things? Possibly, but frankly, again, that's not what the emergency room is for. Not to mention when someone is super morbidly obese, yeah, that's a reasonable explanation. It's kind of hard to rule out the other possibilities when that one is so prevalent. I've been doing a lot of research into lipedema for a video I'm working on, and there was a doctor I saw who said that treating lipedema without addressing morbid obesity was like your whole house being on fire and you're only concerned about the garage. Even if you were there at the doctor to address another unrelated issue, I do feel like most doctors will and should bring up your weight as well. Again, I'm not saying that I think doctors should be dismissing people's symptoms just because of their weight, but I do think it's wild to not try to eliminate it as a possibility. If you lose weight and your problem goes away, you've eliminated all of the time and effort and expenses that go with testing for every other possibility. I understand sometimes you just don't have the time to wait and see depending on what your problem is, but sometimes you do. Amberlynn waited 2 whole years to see a gynecologist, and that was only because her situation got horrific. I won't describe it here, but you can find it on her channel back in 2020. During that 2 years, she could have lost so much weight. And not only would it have demonstrated to the doctors that the weight wasn't the issue, but it would have likely decreased her risk during surgery and recovery. It's not helpful to blame herself for getting cancer. It is helpful to recognize that her lifestyle not only increased her risk, but it also complicated her diagnosis and treatment. Feeling shame and guilt isn't useful unless it motivates you to improve. Better emotions to embrace are compassion and care for yourself. I want to live a long and healthy life, so I want to treat myself in ways that will accomplish that. Whenever I found out about the hypothyroidism, it really scared me, but that fear was a good motivator to treat myself well. And that didn't mean I cut out every food I liked or exercised myself to death. It just meant I created sustainable lifestyle changes that I plan to carry with me for the rest of my life. Honestly, if anything, I kind of wish my doctor had been more serious about my weight gain. I like my doctor a lot, but he didn't really seem to be concerned until I lost a bunch of weight. But I think he was just making sure I was going about it in a healthy way. And if you're scared of going to the doctor, just know there are plenty of them who are very nice and very compassionate. Kind of like what I said in my last video, just like you want a therapist who will challenge your unhealthy habits, you also want a medical doctor who will do that as well. What I'm saying is, start now. Start getting healthy before it becomes too late. If Amberlynn won't take her issues as a wake-up call, maybe you can. I've said this before, but I first discovered glitter and lasers a couple years ago when she was having her reality check, and it inspired me to get healthy. Just because she didn't really follow through doesn't mean I can't. Again, I hope Amberlynn is doing okay or will be okay soon, and I hope all of you are doing well too. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.